Well, I've been meaning to make a video blog about Barry's latest busy wall for a very long time. And now we're in lockdown. I suppose I've got the time to do it, no excuse. This has been quite an interesting project, actually, because I've been building busy walls for him to play with and trying to encourage him to do lots of different things. And it all began really when I noticed he started liking to press buttons and switch things a little bit on and off. He hadn't really got the manual dexterity to do it, but he did enjoy having a go. He was copying us all the time, especially pressing buttons on my CD player and things like that. So this all started with a long train journey down to Taunton. And it really was a back of the envelope kind of design. I had a piece of paper and ideas come to me, and I just thought, I've got to jot this down, and didn't worry about the drawing skills, but sort of started drawing something out that I thought might be fun to build for him. And I set myself the challenge of using up leftover electrical bits and pieces in my workshop at home and using scrap wood. We've had quite a bit of scrap wood, this sort of kitchen type surface and cupboard surface from IKEA. Actually, when you drive out of IKEA in Wednesbury, they sort of have a help yourself pile of wood. So I've always been looking for little bits like this that I can redo and reuse and recycle. Anyway, it didn't quite turn out as expected. Instead of it just being a sort of simple knock together project, it sort of grew and grew and grew. And I ended up doing exactly what I didn't plan to do, which was buying in lots of bits and pieces and making something rather more complicated than I thought. But anyway, I thought I'd share with you how I built this. And I'm really pleased because he absolutely loves it. The funny thing is, though, that because of all these switches that go on and off and buzzers and beepers and things on it, I thought, okay, I can't leave it on all the time, so I'll put a master switch on. And this was at the stage when Barry couldn't operate toggle switches like this. Well, would you believe it was the only one he wanted to play with? He took no interest in any of the other bits at all to begin with, and all he wanted to do was flick this one on and off. But he's got a bit more of a feel for it now, and he starts playing with all the other bits. And in fact, the other day he left the toggle switch, master switch on, and over a period of the night and a bit longer, the battery flattened. And he came back the next morning and he was kind of really disappointed that nothing seemed to work. But I've got a clever little system in here that allows us to charge it back up again. So you might be interested just to see how I built it. So I've got a few photographs to take you through the stages that I went through when building this. And it was a lot of fun because he actually sat on my workbench up here with me as well and watched me soldering and putting all the electronic components in and using a screwdriver and things. And soldering irons aside, he now walks around with a screwdriver and loves that sort of thing. So let's go ahead now and I'll show you how I started with a completely blank piece of white wood. So as I said, I started off with a piece of scrap timber, and it was just a white board, and I cut it in 2 equal sized pieces. I basically cut the board in half, and that enabled me to do the front surface and then to have a back on it. Because of all the wiring inside here, and you'll see that in a minute, I didn't want Barry getting his hands in there. There's no health risk, it's all low voltage stuff. But I know he would grab at the wires and pull things, and it would be broken in seconds. So this one, compared to the mechanical ones, had to be sort of encased. So it's got some thickness to it, and it's got a back and a front. I had my drawing, which I kind of developed with as time went on. And I can't remember. I'm trying to remember now what I bought the LEDs for. There must have been some other project. Oh, I know. Oh yeah, that was that was a project. The chemistry technician is brilliant at making cakes, and she wanted secretly to make a cake for her daughter, who's a healthcare worker, an ambulance. And she said to me, "Are you any good at electronics or electrical stuff?" I said, "Why?" And she said, "Could you make me a fully working ambulance if I make the cake?" So she made an ambulance cake, and I did all the flashing lights and a siren and everything. And I think it was hugely successful. Anyway, For the ambulance, I had some flashing lights. I had like red lights for the back LEDs here, and flashing blue lights, and I had sirens and all sorts of things. And I had this stuff left over. So I thought what I'll do is I'll put it into a busy wall for Barry. And it turned out that I needed rather more components, so I had to kind of buy more bits, which was never the intention. I intended to just use up scrap stuff around the house. Anyway, I wanted to put his name on it, so I printed off some fonts in Word, and you can make fonts really, really big in Word if you know how to do that. And then I kind of copied them onto the board and filled them in with a Sharpie. I then marked on where I wanted all the LEDs to be positioned, and then there was a bit of a nightmare of drilling holes because I couldn't for the life of me find a drill anywhere the right size. We kind of went round in circles, and I've got cone cuts that will drill a hole, but it was either too big or too small. And finally, I think I found 13.5 mil or something like that, which is a good fit for wood, because these are obviously meant to fit in plastic and metal cases. And then there was the challenge of drilling, like, not thousands, but loads and loads and loads of holes. And Barry watched me do this. He was a bit frightened of the electric drill to begin with, but he kind of got the hang of it. And he's now at the stage where he'll hand me the drill bit and actually push it into the chuck of the drill, which is quite cool. He knows how that works, which for a baby who was well under 2 years old, that really surprised me. I managed to get a few buzzers. Absolutely no idea why that one is a different pitch, unless it shouldn't be anything to do with the voltage getting to it, but never mind. And various switches. I wanted colour-coded switches that stayed on. I obviously wanted the master switch, and I wanted kind of different buzzers, so you could play with those as well. And I know when he's there because I can hear this thing buzzing away. So once the holes were in, it was a case of putting the LEDs into their little sockets and pushing them in to the wood, and they hold quite tightly. And then, of course, Barry wanted to push the LEDs out of their little holders, their little bezels. So I've now super glued every single LED into its holder. Sure, some are a bit lower than others, I don't really care. And the super glue has actually caused the surface of them to craze slightly. But again, not bothered. It's just meant to be a little bit of fun. And then the wiring game began. Okay, so it was a case of wiring all the LEDs up so individual switches could switch them on and off. Trying to use the minimum amount of wiring. And I wasn't too worried about neatness, building a circuit board and all of that. It was meant to be a quick project. Which wasn't exactly that quick, but it kind of worked out. And powering the thing, I gave a lot of thought to how I would power it. And then it became very obvious to me that I'd get one of those mobile phone battery packs. Can't remember what you call them, but the kind of extra power packs off Amazon, or was it eBay or somewhere like that. And that's the right voltage pretty much for LEDs, as long as they have a dropper resistor in them. And it lasts for ages and ages. I've only ever charged this once, and that's when he left it switched on all night. And you just plug it into USB, and a couple of hours, 3 hours time, 4 hours time, the battery pack is back up to full power. And it has a little indicator on it that says what percentage power is left in it. So that's really handy. So I've only ever actually had to take the sides off this and charge it once. So you got it all wired up, and then I realised there were holes in the sides where the two kind of top and bottom bits met. I got wooden bits on each side, but not on each end. So Ray, our technician, very kindly cut me two Perspex strips from a leftover bit of Perspex, screwed those on, and now it's Barry safe. He can't get inside it and break anything. And it's been a huge success. He loves playing with it. We went through a phase about a month ago where he stopped. It kind of had no interest for him. He realised he could press buttons and stuff, but he hadn't really realised that he was controlling it, the lights and things. So he lost interest completely. And now he's definitely back onto it. He knows that a button will cause things to happen, and some LEDs are permanent and some LEDs flash. And I do hear the buzzers from time to time, and I definitely hear this master switch going on and off. Okay, so it's really been fun for me because it meant that I did something with him that was a bit different as a father. You know, we sat at the workbench and we played with tools and we did things slowly, and he saw how something was made, and he's taken in a lot from that. And also his manual dexterity, he's very good with his fingers. Now, I know that can play against us because he'll come in here and he'll hit all the buttons on my tape machines and my hi-fi and stuff like that, but you know, he's not going to break anything. And obviously other things around the house. I said to my partner the other day, you must disconnect the hairdryer, because I'm sure if we leave it on the bed, he'll find the switch and power it up, and then we might have a fire. So you know, what's to be gained from all of this? Well, it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed doing it with him, and it's a great pleasure for me to firstly take what is basically scrap and give it a second use. Granted, I had to buy stuff in and use more parts than I thought, but just doing stuff with him, it's been absolutely great fun, having a kind of project with him, which he can take part in, and not buying a toy, you know, not going to the shops and buying some plastic toy, but having this. The plan was to recycle everything when he sort of finished with it, but I'm a bit attached now. I kind of don't want to smash it up and throw it away. I'm sort of hoping he might put it up in his room when he's a bit older and have his name in flashing lights, who knows. But anyway, it's been a great fun project. I've actually built another one since, and that's a mechanical one. So maybe we'll have a look at that sometime. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you enjoyed seeing the sort of things that we build for Barry, and maybe do the same thing for your children at some time.
Tuck my head, look. Doot doot. Yeah, good.